I'm Nicholas Kuhner, founder of Wunderbrand, and we're going to deep dive into the world of branding, digital marketing, and entrepreneurship. My career includes working with some of the world's top brand and advertising agencies, as well as working at brands like Nando's, MTV, and Comedy Central, where for 20 years I've honed my expertise in building brands in emerging markets. Based here in Oslo, I lecture on digital marketing, helping the next generation of marketers navigate this dynamic world. I'm here to share powerful insights from my own journey and bring you the wisdom of leading voices in branding and marketing from across the globe. Whether you're an entrepreneur looking to scale, a student eager to learn, or a business seeking to elevate your brand, you're in the right place. Hi everyone, and welcome back. Mark Stern is with us today. He's an accomplished serial entrepreneur and the visionary behind Custom Box Agency, an acclaimed customer experience design agency headquartered in Austin, Texas. So, Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here, Nicholas.
And we're going to talk about not just boxes today, but we're going to talk about customer experience, because the box is just the vehicle basically to engage with customers.
Exactly.
And
what
you
too, by the way. So we call it the vehicle.
So I love boxes. I had a guest on a while ago, Daniel Dan, who sent me a box actually, which was his engagement tool, and we did a box unopening with our students, and it really was fantastic. Each thing that you opened was another exercise. It really engaged the students, it engaged me, and it gave us something to sort of disrupt our day a little bit versus just looking at videos and listening to me jabber on all day. So let's talk about how did you get into this business, and maybe talk a bit about your backstory.
Yeah, no. I grew up in a place called Montgomery, Alabama, so deep south in the United States. And when I was raised, like everyone was wired like I am, that you were kind of groomed that there's this idea of the natural progression of life. You go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you graduate, you get the job, then you go to grad school, and then, after grad school, you get the job, and it's a house with the picket fence, and so be it life. And I used to joke and say I was poster child of that path, because I would go all in, and everything I did. I had one job from undergrad to grad school, got my MBA at Duke. And in 2012, when I graduated, I had $165,000 in student loan debt and a 2-year commitment to Deloitte Consulting, and started to really awaken this entrepreneurial spirit. And the downside about that is when you work for a company like Deloitte, they own everything you produce in and outside the firm. So this idea of having a side hustle or building something on the side, I just couldn't do because the firm owned it. And so it took me years at least rewire the mindset to say, I think that there's a bigger opportunity than this corporate job. And with Deloitte, you're like literally living the road warrior life. Every Monday, a cab picked me up at 4:45, flew to my client every Thursday or Friday, flew back to Austin, Texas, just in time to wash my clothes, stick them back in my suitcase, and do it again the following Monday. So, I mean, there's a certain time that you just wake up and you go, this can't be it. There's got to be more to life. And had this just innate desire to want to scratch this, entrepreneurial desire. And finally took the leap in the beginning of 2018. And to answer your question around where did the concept of boxes come from, my biggest struggle when I started in 2018 was this was the rise of digital. And so you're seeing this explosion of digital products. Pre-internet, everything was physical. You go to the back of a magazine or the newspaper ad or see the commercial, and you call the 1-800 number and someone will send you something. Digital age, they're like, well, this is so much more scalable because we don't have any inventory. But what's happening is because the barriers to entry are so low, I can film content with my iPhone. You see this oversaturatedness of content. And my biggest struggle was, I'm like, there's so much digital products that are being thrown at my face. I just wish someone would send me the tools and resources I need to be set up for success. Because if you're making me print out everything or go buy everything, you just put up an obstacle that would prevent me from being successful. So it all started as an accident. It was never meant to be the business. It was, I hosted a virtual event, but I wanted to send everyone the key highlights from this virtual conference that had 40 speakers in it. And so I built a publication. Part of it is that's probably my corporate mind saying I need something physical and I need a publication. But what I didn't expect is that everyone who bought a ticket to the virtual event and received the publication in the mail, people started posting pictures and they started doing videos showing off different things inside the publication. We featured all 40 speakers. So the speakers were showing off their spread in the publication just because they were proud to be featured in it. And all of a sudden, I'm getting all this organic traffic that I didn't have to pay for, that I didn't have to ask for, selling my product on my behalf. And this started this idea of, okay, there's something interesting because if you do a digital only product, you can't do an unboxing. But with a physical product, this opens a whole new segue. And through that, eventually we went into boxes. We started getting all these videos through boxes. People started asking us, how are you doing this? And then the business just started to take off. So never in a million years did I think boxes would be the business, but it has been like the secret pathway to delving deep into business strategy in such a weird way.
Well, I've gone to your website and I've had a look at some of the amazing boxes that you've created. And obviously you've got some cool clients, and I'm sure these boxes are a hit wherever they go. So I can see a whole bunch of them behind you. You spoke about boxes not being the start of your journey. Now, when people look at the name of the business, Custom Box Agency, it doesn't really sort of scream strategy, basically. So how did you start selling the concept of boxes to clients who weren't looking for boxes? So what sort of tools and techniques did you use to convince somebody to say, hey, don't spend money on Facebook. Don't just do a Facebook ad, get a box?
It's so interesting. And by the way, like what you're hitting on is something that we're recognizing more and more, which is the challenge with it is that we started with Custom Box Agency and now it's been so seasoned, especially in the online space, that it's hard to just let the name go. Because I actually agree with you to say it doesn't speak to the part of what we do, which is business strategy. Boxes are vehicle. And so eventually what we'll probably end up doing is having a parent company that Custom Box Agency sits under, that the strategic lab can live 100% and actually thrive on its own. But you're 100% right to say, this is so just for your listeners, this is a great learning opportunity that I love the literal nature of the name Custom Box Agency, and it's too seasoned to change it right now. But it is opening up the concern that you have. To your question around how do we sell this concept, it started with, and people need to understand that your first case study could be you. And I started doing this for me. And what was happening was people started saying, how are you doing this? And so this is where I launched a challenge teaching people how to do it. What I didn't expect is those who went through the challenge, and I'm intimately breaking down the strategy of how we do it. They loved the challenge. The challenge took off. And then they called me up for me to build their box. And I didn't design the challenge for me to build the box. I had a different business at the time. I designed the challenge to buy back my time because Custom Box Agency wasn't the business. But that's what started this. And then what ended up happening is we still haven't spent any money in paid traffic or ads. We've been strictly word of mouth with growing this business. And you know, what we did was we took it from 0 to a 7-figure business in less than a year. The first year we went all in on it. But a lot of what helped us was the fact that every time a client saw what we did and then we published their box and it hit market, it's this ripple effect that happens. And so now we've done so many of these experience build outs, and you talked about ideas that influence. That is the box you received from Daniel Den is one of our boxes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's an amazing box.
Thank you. Yeah. And you can see that box is crazy. I think there's like 70 pieces in that box, but a lot of our boxes have it. They average about 30 to 50 pieces, which sounds nuts. But like, if you think of a board game and all the pieces that are in a board game, every card is a piece. When it's organized beautifully, it doesn't feel like there are all these pieces inside the box. But that's really, you know, when I say word of mouth and referral, and then the other strategy is, you know, there's a lot of masterminds and events that I go to, and just the physical visibility and conversations. For us, we're fortunate that it's not been a hard product to sell, but seeing it in firsthand is the best selling that we could do, since people can see the quality of what we produce.
Absolutely. I mean, the aspect of experiential is missing on TikTok, Instagram, and all of these social media channels. And I think specifically because it's been so easy to move online and people can theoretically judge the efficacy of their Facebook ads, etc. They've sort of neglected direct mail and they've neglected experiential activities to their detriment. And I think the more people see your products, for example, or your service, you'll definitely have more and more folks going the experiential way, because you can get 1 million hits on a Facebook ad and get 10 customers. It's not necessarily hitting the spot. Whereas with a product like this, I'm sure your close rate is much better than just a Google ad. And I suppose part of that reason is that you've got to be really targeted where you send these boxes.
Mm-hmm. And that's a different strategy. We say there's 3 strategies of the boxes. One is acquisition. So think customer life cycle. You acquire a customer, then you deliver your products and services, then you retain. We look at those as 3 different campaigns, because we could build a box experience, to your point, like Daniel Den did, where he sent you a box, and part of that's a relationship building or nurturing tool. That's a different strategy than you bought my product or service. So as part of buying it, you bought a subscription to my software as a service platform. You joined my coaching program. You bought my course. You hired me as your lawyer. All of those part of the delivery could be like, now that you've hired me, let me deliver something to give you, this is part of the delivery process and show you the journey you're about to start. Retention heavily is on awards and recognition, or the next piece. It's not uncommon that we say the first box we send you may say, this is box 1 of 4. Well, if we do that, we just created an open loop that if you want to complete the series, you need to be a box 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4. Technically, those are all retention plays, because every time you stay active to collect the next piece, it's all about extending customer lifetime value. All different ways you can.
Oh, that's brilliant. One of my favorite topics is the customer journey. And obviously, it's very important if you're going to be spending money on an exercise like this, you've got to deep dive into your customer journey and understand how this is going to add value to you. Creating a business like this has its own complexities, though. And we'll talk quickly about COVID and how that potentially impacted or supercharged your business. How did you guys navigate that process?
We went all in on Custom Box Agency in May of 2020. And so from May of 2020 to May of 2021, we scaled it from really not being a core focused business to a 7-figure business. And the best part about it, especially during the age of COVID, was actually great for business, because we had a solution that could get things into the hands of our clients' customers. And so in that sense, COVID was actually a blessing for us. The biggest hurdles that we faced is that the shipping game had really changed, just because there was so much uncertainty. And there's so many limitations that you were seeing a lot of struggles with UPS, X. So those carrier channels getting things there, because demand, I think, skyrocketed, because we can't go to the mall as easily, or we can't go to the store as easily. Instead, you're seeing people purchasing behaviors skyrocket. And so delivery, I think, was like, it was an unexpected amount. And so navigating that game probably was the biggest challenge. You know, we had carriers that would lose our packages. And that was a big struggle at times, because when you spend money on a whole experience and then it goes missing and then eventually gets found, those delays could be crucial if there's a launch associated with the product. But for the most part, luckily, we didn't face too many hiccups or hurdles, but those were the things that would happen. But that, for us, I would say age of COVID was actually good for our business, since we played in the direct model.
Yeah. We spoke about retention, and I like your concept. I really like that concept. There's not just one box, it's multiple boxes. I'm going to touch on another aspect, which is sustainability, because you've got that listed on your website as well. If I just go backwards a little bit in terms of the whole production process of creating these boxes, you didn't start out studying print design and packaging design, obviously. How was that process of either learning this all from ground up yourself, or getting in the right team to help you create this fantastic experience?
It's a great question. Like, the thing with print design, part of it is, although I'm not trained in design, when you work for a consulting firm like Deloitte, what they don't tell you is not only do you have to be a good consultant, but you have to be a great graphic designer. And they never told me that. So I always joke and say that my love language is PowerPoint, because that's what we used at Deloitte. And when I say that, like, I had to learn it in a way that alignment, formatting were flawless, because partners would get your deck. So you produce everything. When you analyze a client challenge, you ultimately will synthesize it and produce a deck that then ultimately sell the concept to a client. I was on the strategy side of the business. So it's like defining the project that we're trying to sell. And for me, if things weren't aligned perfectly and it was just pica off, we would have partners that would be like, this isn't formatted, I'm not going to take a look at it. Like, that was how much intention was set on the look and feel and the structure and formatting. through that, what I learned is one of my superpowers is visualizing strategy. There's a lot of people who can calculate and see the strategy, but they don't know how to translate that to paper. For me, if I see it, I know exactly how to translate it. And so that skill set where I really excelled at Deloitte was the ability to see it and then craft the story and design the story around it. So I never signed up to be a graphic designer or turn PowerPoint into my ultimate love language, but I learned to love PowerPoint. I think that translated actually really nicely to the box experience because now we have to build on die lines, and die lines have very specific specifications. And die lines, when you have a die line of a box, it's essentially taking the box, flattening it out. You have to be intentional with understanding which direction each panel is facing when you see a box laid out flat. And so through that, you just had to build that discipline. But I think just doing that helped me start getting a little bit more dangerous when it came to the design. But now at this day, Custom Box Agency, we have a team of about 30 people. We have about 10 full-time designers, and then a whole design team leadership structure on top of that. And so luckily I don't have to do the design, but initially that was something that I had to wear that hat while we were validating concept. And it was actually thoroughly enjoyed wearing. For me, I'm a little bit more strategy.
So do you get involved in the creative sessions where you have to come up with ideas for these boxes, or do clients generally come up with that, or is it a mixed process?
What we prefer is clients being problem aware, potential solution aware, that we can provide that solution. But I have no expectation that clients have the idea baked in. When we start working with clients, we take them through 3 phases. Phase 1, we call activate. This is where we do the strategy because we need to get into your business. And then typically they'll come to Austin, Texas, and we'll spend a day together to bring to life the concept. When it's digital only, a lot of our clients only are thinking one-sided. I get to spend all my time and energy thinking about digital and physical coming together to these experiences. So oftentimes they don't know what they don't know. And so that's where I don't want them to have any expectations, because typically when they go through a process, we'll pull out of them what that experience should be. So phase 1 is all about defining the blueprint and giving them all their forecast numbers, because I think you need to know your numbers. Phase 2 is then, now that we have the blueprint, our design team can bring the concept to life. So you'll see defining brand identity at the beginning, because when we're developing an average 30 to 50 pieces, we don't have bait. We call it a stop the presses moment, because all these other pieces will be impacted. And then after we design it, phase 3 is what we call deliver. We can send it into production. We can have it assembled, and then we can activate the warehouse. We have a warehouse in Austin, Texas, and then ship out globally. So through that, we try and make it as simple as possible. But to your question, I don't have expectation that clients have. And typically, if they do have an idea, once they see what's possible, it completely evolves the idea. And like I said, that's where I have fun. It's just fun to be a part of the brainstorming process.
So I'm going to do a tiny bit of brain reading now. Because you get involved in that strategy session with folks who are developing this box, and with your background, surely you must think, oh man, I could help your business so much if you did this, this, and this. Or how do you keep yourself focused on just the box business and not wanting to fix the businesses that you work on? Am I correct?
You are correct, 100%. And what I always tell clients is there's always an endless amount of things that you can do when you start be an outsider looking into a business, but we are very disciplined to say we focus on physical only. So we're not going to build your funnel. We're not going to do your Facebook ads or manage your social media community. But with Box, we are so design heavy that everything we do impacts the look and feel of the brand. And so this is why we have so many tools and resources that, one of the things we build for a client, because for us, it keeps us organized, so we might as well share it with them, is you can see behind me, all these boxes have so many different assets that we create. I mean, you can see we've tunified people to just provide a different perspective. We build an asset repository that then we can say, if you want to give access to your Facebook ads manager or your SEO person or insert whatever role funnel builder, they now can access the same graphics that we have. And if they want us to add graphics asset repository, it keeps us organized, but also keeps them organized. And it's a nice perk that we can offer them. But my role when we go through the process, I need to know what the big vision is for the business before we do a box build out, which is usually focused on one product or service. But you should be seeding the universe of the business. And I tell clients all the time, my role is to show you your options. My role is to show you what's possible, and we can have a conversation on, You may have approached just about building the experience here, but seeing the business, this is a lower hanging fruit. I just need to show you what's possible, but you are in the driver's seat. And that's it. I'm not here to pivot you, but if you want to pivot, we're here to support you through. So that's a big thing. You're right to say we could start going outside the zone of where we play, but I find that the more variation, more things you do, the more complex you're making your business. Whereas we want to own business and we want to collaborate with good digital partners.
Now that this business has gotten to the stage it is, you are, how many is that? 6 years. How many years?
Informally,
6,
when
okay.
we really went all in, it's 4 because it was 2020, but informally it was 2018. You're right. So it is 6 years.
Yeah. Okay. Do you, from a fulfillment perspective, you worked at Deloitte, you've done your MBA. From your personal side, how do you feel right now with the business as it is? Do you, from a personal perspective, do you feel proud? This business, what does it give you back?
I think part of what I love about the business is when you are hired into a corporate job, you are hired into a bracket. This is your bracket. This is your pay in the bracket. They define it. And you are limited in your bracket to a certain degree. And so Deloitte was very predictable in the sense of, okay, you've been in this role for 2 to 3 years. If you scored in this, like your top performer, you know you're going to get promoted here because it's just so black and white how it's designed. For me, there's a lot of things I loved about my corporate life, but one of the things I did not like was I did not have work life. I work 24/7. Like when people say, escape your 9 to 5, I'm like, that sounds amazing. You can leave a job at 5 and go home. That's like a dream. This was my phone vibrates on a Friday or Saturday night at 10 p.m. I'm diving for it. So I have a lot of PTSD about seeing my phone vibrate when email comes in to the point that I don't even have my work email on my phone. That was a big decision I made this year. But yeah, I mean, I'm very intentional to the team to say this is very much a team first business. I don't want my people to work after 5 p.m. I want them to feel control to control their hours. If they choose to work after 5 p.m., if they want to work out at 10 a.m. in the morning, as long as they own their schedule, go do that. So the culture that we're trying to build is one that I want people to love what they're doing, but understand that we are operating in a virtual environment in a post-COVID era. And I don't think sitting in front of your computer from 9 to 5 is like realistic in this stage and age in terms of how a modern business needs to function. And so it's fun to be able to customize the stories of what the experience can be for both you and your clients. And then it's the realization that the only thing that's preventing you from doing things is yourself. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh, I'd love to do that. And then I'm like, wait a second, I can't do that because I'm not in a bracket. And so you realize that what's between your 2 ears is your biggest limiting factor. And that to me was one of the most empowering revelations of entrepreneurship is Activate Deck. This right here, this is one of our products, 57, which is this one that we're going to be launching. See, these are 2 products that are about to launch. These were just ideas that we were talking about. How can we better serve businesses? And so this is all about customer acquisition strategy. How do I help you brainstorm how to increase your customer acquisition? This is all about how do I understand the hats I'm wearing in my business? And then a lot of back supporting tools and resources. These just started with ideas. To see these ideas come to light is such a cool thing to see that box, like the simple idea becoming real. And that to me, just like, that's just exciting that here's a job I found online. I'm applying to it. And this is why I work here, is because it was the job that was available.
Well, I have to be very honest with you, Mark. I didn't expect a discussion about boxes to be as cool as this. So it's obviously, it's about how you frame things. And as you're talking about building your own culture, bringing your corporate experience from your PowerPoint mastery into this work. So if we had to talk to students and young entrepreneurs who are perhaps doing work that they don't think is their dream job, what could you say to them in terms of sticking at it or using those experiences that will never be wasted in any potential career or business that they found one day?
Yeah, great question, by the way. What I would tell you, and this was my biggest struggle, like I always consider myself a high performer in corporate America. So when I left corporate America to become an entrepreneur, to be honest, I fell on my face and I could not understand. I'm like, I was a high performer here. I have an MBA. I'm like, I'm a good student. Why am I failing in this game so much? And the aha I had was, corporate versus entrepreneurship. And the best way I can describe it, it's like checkers versus chess. The game board looks the same. Literally, it's the same game board that you play checkers on that you can play chess on. The rules are completely different. So the aha that I had was I'm trying to play entrepreneurship with a corporate lens, and therefore I'm falling flat on my face. When I stopped and said, wait a second, you need to learn how to play a new game, and started understanding how to win or start to play in the game of entrepreneurship, your best competitive edge is the experience that you had prior. And so that was the thing that was really powerful was I learned how to play a new game. And then I layered on my strategic advantage, which was all the experiences that I had in corporate America and in life before that. And that became what made me my own competitive edge. So that's kind of what I'd say is you never push reset. You just need to learn the rules of the game you're playing, and then you get to layer on your competitive advantage. That's the biggest thing. The other thing I tell you is when I was in corporate America, people celebrated the fact that you were the world's best generalist. Deloitte wanted me to be good at everything. If you approach entrepreneurship with that mentality, you are nothing. People do not celebrate you being known for everything. They want you to be known for one thing. So I say to people, how do you make it easy for someone else to help you win? Stop overcomplicating what you do. And so that's kind of where if someone says, who does boxes or these box experiences, people ignite to say Mark Stern, simply because I made it easy for them to pick me as the person who can solve that problem. If I did Facebook ads and boxes and YouTube videos and 4,000 other business offerings, why would you recommend me versus the person that's all in on YouTube ads or Facebook ads or social media management or insert the blank? LinkedIn optimization. Being known for one thing is one of the greatest things. And by the way, it's a huge advantage because I get to spend all my brain capacity focused on going deeper in the box experiences, which is what you're hearing. And it's only because I'm not distracted by trying to do 30,000 things. I get to go deep and build expertise and put all my thought process into these box experiences.
I think that's super valuable guidance. Honestly, focusing on one thing, I love it. And that's why I asked the question earlier about when you see the other challenges that the company has, it must be so tough not wanting to say, oh, I can fix that. Oh, I know how to do it. Oh, no, I can do that. And I've had that in my own business as well. And when I learned to say no and just focus on my knitting, things went way better. As we close out now, let's talk a little bit about the most ridiculous or crazy box that you've created.
I have so many stories. It's funny because there are some that are inappropriate. Like we have people on purpose things that like we're asking for things that you're just like, I had to be like, what did you just ask me for? One of the most over the top ones that we did was we had an orthodontist client who wanted to do a box for their event. This was during COVID that was playing off of like a Ready Player One meets Avengers theme, which is way out there to do that. And so what was cool about this experience was there were so many Easter eggs that were built into it. And this is the cool thing about boxes is boxes can be whatever you want. However you visualize it in some way, shape, or form. If it's been done before, we're going to try our best to try and bring that to life. But we leveraged augmented reality, which was you had the thing about it at the time. The challenge between augmented reality versus, let's just say, a QR code is your phone reader has QR codes. For you to access augmented reality, I think the technology is getting better, but it's not as simple as opening the camera app on your phone. You typically need to download some type of augmented reality viewer. And I would argue that the world is getting closer to it, but we're still not there 100%. So it adds a degree of complexity. But some of the things that we did was we had things suspended above the box in augmented reality. When you opened up the box, there was a snow show screen. So it's like you navigating your TV to a channel that has no reception. It's just the snow show. When you locked it in an augmented reality, it locked in a video that came to life and popped through that space. We did trading cards. So all the speakers of the event, we turned into trading cards to make them look like different Avengers or Marvel characters. And it was in a booster pack. So think about like a baseball card pack or a Pokemon card pack you had as a kid. So all of that were things that were brought to life. So it was one of those that was like, they wanted to be the most innovative box. And so we made it into as innovative of a box as we could get it. But the downside about it is sometimes when you go too crazy like that, it doesn't resonate. And so I think parts of it, of the experience people got is a simple box.
Yeah.
But then to really immerse yourself in doing it, you really had to be a certain type of avatar that would embrace them. So I was cool. but I think it was too much. But that's one of the craziest or wackiest ones. And, no, one of the
The most
craziest. Are you asking me
expensive
what was
box
the
that
most
you've
expensive
done
one that we've done? I can tell you that one too. The ones
behind
we're
it?
working on right now is for small business owners in local markets. So it's huge scalable program, but we have a box that is it has a Da Vinci theme to it, and the look and feel. And we even have like so many hidden compartments. Like there's a false bottom in the box. So imagine getting a box thinking this is the experience, and eventually later on you poke through something and it unlocks a whole nother experience inside the box. But it has about 70 to 80 pieces in it. So it has a ton of pieces in it, but everything fits the story of the experience and making it a little fun. So if you go themey with the box, you have to own it and represent it. Otherwise, sometimes themes, if like you own the theme, it's going to be powerful. So this box will be launching soon, and I'm ecstatic about it because it's such a cool imagination. But part of what makes it expensive is there are different things in there that you can't unlock until you get to a certain point of this experience. For instance, there's a cryptex. So if you've seen Da Vinci Code, a cryptex is one of those little things that you move the letters around to break open, and there's a hidden message in there. There's two money bags that have locks that at some point you'll get the combination. So it almost is kind of blending this idea of an escape room meets like an experience meets training for this local market business growth program. So just a really cool experience with that one. And our boxes aren't crazy expensive. I want to say that that one may be 70 or $80, but that's definitely on the higher side for a lot of the experiences we build. And I really tell people, stop just shoving swag in your box, because we say swag means stuff without a goal. So stop sending them stuff without a goal. Like, send them intentionality. This is a box with intention. So swag typically can add up really quickly for a box.
So you can basically go hog wild with these boxes. Anything your mind can sort of conjure up. And the benefit is that you've got to think inside the box. I'm sure you've never heard that before, but that's the beauty of having a box and having to have these restrictions. Is it's amazing what you can do with a box.
Boxes can become anything. You can start looking at it as, how can I make this into something? Like a box can be a container for your story. It doesn't need to just be a box. So that's what you're right. And you're right. It is think inside the box. It's 100%.
So Mark, for folks who want to learn a little bit more about you,
our website is just www.customboxagency.com. And you can fill out a quick little assessment and get on a free consultation with me or a member of my team. You are more than welcome to message me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Just look up Mark Stern and drop me a message. I love connecting with people. And if I can't help you, I can guide you in the right direction or connect you to the right team member. But we have a lot of fun. It's a fun process.